So as you know, if you've watched my channel very much at all, I like to make videos from the boat out on the lake, and I like to do it in pretty shallow water most of the time. So I saw this advertised online and spent a long time looking at it and thinking about it and wishing or wondering and reading up about it and trying to decide, and I did finally decide that I think it's a good thing for me to have, and I want to install it on this boat. What this will do, it helps to stabilize the boat, but it also protects that propeller, so that if you run into a rock, the rock will hit this before it hits your blade or the foot of your motor. So that protects the motor, but it also makes the boat steadier. Sometimes when I run this boat really slow, and sometimes I run this very high in the water, and I'm hoping that this will make it run smoother when I have it up high out of the water like that. So the way this attaches is, of course, I have to tighten these screws on here, and then I drill holes in this little foot piece here to attach this down here, and I got 3 screws that go all the way through that. So I'm working on doing that today, and I bet you that's going to be like a 10mm bolt. So I'll get my tools and we'll set that up. Now, one of the things I'm concerned about here is this. This is the drain for the oil out of the foot down here, and it looks like this would hit this if you took it out. So what I might want to do is mark that, take a grinder and round that hole off there so that I can get that plug out if I need to. Well, I say if I need to. I will need to, because you need to drain the foot oil in these things once every year or so. So that's what I'm going to want to do, is take my grinder and just work that corner off right there. Okay, so that's how it's going to fit. And it needs to fit straight. I'm going to tighten the screws down a little bit more before I drill my holes. Okay, one of the things I'm kind of made a little mistake, not irredeemable, but is I tightened these screws up before I got this completely on here. And then I read that you should loosen them because you need to place this in a particular way. This popsicle stick or measuring stick is taped evenly to the bottom of that. It's supposed to be a 1/2 inch further from this point to this point than from this point to this point. So it needs to be a little more in the back. So by putting my measuring stick right here, nope, the bottom one right here, and making that straight, we get about 10. Right now that's about 10 1/8. A while ago it was about 10 1/16. But let's check it down here. So we put this here, here to here. So that's 11. Let's do that again. 10. I said 10 and that's 10 and that's 10 and 9/16. I said 1/16, but I was looking at the half mark. It's 10 and 9/16, and this is 11 and 1/8. And I've marked the 3 spots where I need to drill 3 holes right there. And I gotta get a particular size drill bit and drill those holes. That should be right. Now, the back is a little lower than the front, and actually, if you look in there, the back of the thing doesn't quite touch the thing on the back, but it does touch it on the front. There's about eighth or 3/16 of an inch play in there. So, next thing I need to do is find the proper size drill. So I'll go back to my instructions for that. It also says the difference between the prop and the hydro shield should be 1 1/4 inches. Now I may not have that much. Let's take a look. I'm willing to bet I don't, so I may have to drop that down slightly. I didn't see that second measurement, so I already had that there. But it says right here, between the prop and the hydro shield should be 1 1/4. So it doesn't look like 1 1/4 to me. Oh, it's got to come down. That's more like about half. I need to come down. 1 1/4, 1 1/2. I need to come down 1 1/4. So I got to change that. I read the instructions again. So right now it's pretty easy to change because I just got it on here with a clamp. An inordinate amount of time trying to figure this measurement of the angle of that thing out. And if you look on here, they show taking a measurement from here and from here, which is, this is, according to this diagram, actually you have to have something that sticks out from the edge of this cavitation plate by about that much, and it doesn't really say how much that is, and then by about this much in the front, and it doesn't really say how much that is, and then these two measurements, which are hard to figure out. So what I did was I put a measuring stick attached to the bottom of the plate here and one attached to the top up here, and then I pulled a measurement from here to here. And what I had to do, you see how this is a little loose, is I had to kind of hold this up to about where it should be, about right there, and then take a measurement from that point to that point, and then come back here, out here, and a measurement from out here to out here. This needs to be a 1/2 inch more than that, and here inside of here it needs to have 1 1/4 inches. So let me get out my trusty little tape measure, and it has to be a little one, or you can't fit it over in there, and you have to kind of bend it. It's pretty hard to do and hold the camera at the same time. So that's supposed to be 1 1/4 inches between that and the blade. which I'm pretty sure I've just about got. And then, let's see if I can figure out a way where you can see what I'm doing while I'm doing it. Maybe if I put you on the ground and set you facing kind of up like this. Sometimes I use my hand to figure out what I'm looking at here. Where's my hand? To right here. So, I don't even know if you can see that, but if I hold this up against the bottom of that, and then I measure it from here to there, I've got roughly about 11 1/8 right there. And then from the top of this to there, I've got roughly about 11 and according to my thinking, I think this needs to come up about an 8. Now I've got one screw in this already, so that I can kind of adjust on that. It's a little bit much, but then I have to also keep watching my measurement in here because I don't want to go closer than 1 1/4. I think I'm going to leave it like that. So the way this works is you have to drill a hole in here and you mount one screw. And this wound up being a lot lower than I thought it was going to be, but you have to get your distance between the blade and here. So now I'm going to drill 2 holes and put 2 more screws in here. Once I'm satisfied, I'll probably measure this another 100 times because I'm probably just obsessive compulsive enough to want to do it over and over again to try to make sure I think I've got the right measurement. So I'm going to come out here again and raise this and come to the top of that blade, determine that I think that's correct measurement would be 11. Maybe that's 11 1/4. If that's 11 1/4, then this is right because this is 11 3/4. Let's leave it there. Let's leave it there and try that. And see, these bolts ain't tightened up yet, and these hadn't even been drilled yet. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm not exactly sure I got this where you can see me, but I think I do. So I'm going to go ahead and drill these 2 holes over here. And I did say that this front lower part needs to be about even with that, and it would make sense that it would. Otherwise, if this was slightly ahead of that, it would create a little cup where water would catch in that. So you want this piece here to break the water so that it comes out and across that. I think that's right. So I'm going to go with it. Hold your breath. Here we go. By the way, I'm not wild about drilling holes in my new motor, but I did because I think it's the right thing to do. I hope I'm not disappointed in myself later on. My friend Bill Hurst said he had one of these on his boat and he hit a rock and it fell off. And then he wound up having to drill a hole in his to keep it on. Now, I'm guessing he didn't have this same kind. There's no way to attach this one to this boat without drilling those holes. So he might have had a different type. But I know for sure this ain't going to fall off if you hit a rock unless you break the tail shaft off, which would be bad and I don't want to do. But one more hole drill down here. Now I can tighten these ones up down here. Take this here off. extra space that I've created that I have to have is probably about an inch, because if you look at, that's the end of where the tail shaft is, and then this thing is down probably about an inch below that. Now you can see I've got some scars on my propeller here, and that's from where I've either hit rocks or trees. I've got a lot of trees in my cove. One of the reasons for going with this is to protect my blade from those trees. Yeah, and rocks. And, you know, I like to run in shallow water. Now, this may hit the bottom. Well, it would actually hit the bottom sooner than that would. But if it does hit the bottom, it's not going to be hitting it with the blade. This thing is going to protect the blade. That's the biggest reason I put this on here. Now, a lot of people say this really improves a lot of things about the way the boat handles. So we'll see. That's a byproduct, though. My main thing that got me looking at this idea was to protect the blade. Now, they say to nub these little bolts off. I probably will, but I probably will put it in the water and run it first. And then if I'm happy with it, I'll come back and get a grinder and nip these off right here. Because I don't want to cut them off and then find out that I have to change the angle. Although I can't imagine why I should. I spent a lot of time doing careful measurements to get that right. And I might squirt a little paint here where I've scuffed that up. It's not like it's going to rust because it's aluminum, but still, I've got some paint. It wouldn't hurt to squirt a little bit of white paint on that. I'm pretty sure I got a can here. Can you buy somewhere? Got plenty of paint. I think that's some white there. I don't know if there's enough in that spray. Maybe. There you go. That's not too bad. Surprised I got any spray out of that. There you go. Alright. So, it's still pretty cold. It's like 32 degrees when I come out here a while ago. So, by the way, I've got to where I keep a can of carburetor cleaner around every time I use a paint can. And I squirt that right where the paint comes out, to keep that from hardening up where it won't work anymore. That seems to be the best way I found to keep your paint cans from messing up on you. Alright. Yeah, what else did we have on here? Alright. Alright. So this is the Hydro Shield. Performance, protection, peace of mind. Mine is an R. I think mine was an R45, R30. They make different sizes for different size motors, and I believe mine turned out to be the R45. It would tell me on the box over here, on the package or something. But yeah, so let's. Maybe I'll go in and eat some breakfast. Thank you for buying your Hydro Shield. I love my Hydro Shield. I'm reading from the brochure thingy. So maybe I'll have some breakfast, let it warm up a little bit, because it's going to be cold out on the water otherwise. And then we'll take the camera out with us and ride around and test that out. Shoot some video. The car show tomorrow down in Commerce, and Mr. Chevy man down there he's been encouraging me to come to it, and I think it'd be cool to come to it. So it's an early show, so I need to get up early to go do that. But so later today I might get to ramble out and wash up the windows real good on it and all that fun stuff. Oh, the joy. Alrighty, turn y'all off, charge your battery, and get ready to go back on the lake and shoot some lake videos here.